My name is Sydney Romero. I go by my art brand or art name of Lupe3000. I'm a immigrant from Cancun, Mexico, born in Mexico and raised here in the south side of Milwaukee, very close to WPCA's location. After growing up here in Milwaukee, I had my professional experience in marketing and data, but recently, during the pandemic, I've been able to leverage my artistic experience. And a lot of it is actually from WPCA with an opportunity at Mexican Fiesta to paint live and display some of my art. You have certain ideas, and I think refining them and making them explode on a canvas is my message, is boiling down the creative process and expression itself and just making it spontaneously refinedly combust on a canvas. And I think that's the message I want to convey to people, that live painting for me, I think, is not exactly painting in itself, but it's more of a conversation or a flow of energy between not just the painter, but the audience in itself. Oftentimes, people see only the finished product, the live painting. It's hung up on a wall, it's stored in someone's closet, attic, it's nowhere to be seen ever again. But I think the process in itself, often including the community or involving the audience themselves, giving them a brush, giving them a pastel stick, just letting them know that this is very approachable, that there are no rules to this canvas. There might not even be a canvas, but as long as you execute on something, it may turn out to replicate what we consider to be a portrait or a landscape. It's kind of breaking down the barrier to entry of execution and being creative. It's an actual experience for all audience members and stakeholders. I think for myself is there's different outputs, levels, and mediums to expression. I think from a logical standpoint is understanding what is it that I'm feeling at the moment and how am I trying to express that. I think by breaking it down to its pure elemental form, it's not exactly restricting yourself. I think it's actually opening the floodgates of pure expression on a piece of canvas or whatever your medium is. If you boil it down to its truest essence, the rest just comes organically and naturally. So the message that I would like to not just give to the community, but to help them understand it, if they ever have a live painter, if they ever see someone expressing themselves live, not just having the finished product, as to they may not know what they're doing, but they're enjoying that time. And I think they're want to do it, whether they think it's a mistake or not. It's just building and being disciplined on being creative. When it comes to discipline, there are days that I do not want to paint. There are days where I, like everyone else, maybe wants to binge stream a show or just unplug and unthink. Having that discipline to even doodle, to even see what would the sky look like if it was full of whales and it was red. I think just disciplining that creative muscle, either executing it on a medium or not, but just stretching and disciplining that muscle in itself is very beneficial for the time you do execute. The reason that I support WPCA is just, it's a very organic conversation. It's a very organic relationship. It is about supporting the community and involving part of the community to either live paint, to support it with art, to having them be a part of that experience and being that art is not just a product in itself. And I fully believe the way that WPCA treats its community and its stakeholders, it's exactly how I see live art in itself. I choose to support WPCA, not just because they have supported me, but the way that I can support the rest of the community with my art and involving them in my art process. The way that I intend to activate the space is to give it a little bit of context, the artwork or pieces that I work with are very bright colored, often very spontaneous. Oftentimes it's the illusion of what could appear to be a face or a portrait. And I think the best way to activate a space is to dim down the lights a little bit, to shine not exactly light on a piece of art or the portrait or the painting, but to make the colors pop out. So you could look at them very close up and seeing that all the spontaneous strokes that made this painting, or you could take a step back to appreciate not just the painting, but the actual activated space in itself. And how do you have a conversation with those brushstrokes themselves, or what could be seen as a mistake that appears to be a portrait at the end of the day. What is next for me is taking some time after my solo exhibition to not just continue creating different pieces of art, specifically large-scale pieces of art, and taking that time in the winter to create some inventory, I would say, or even practice what best works for me or what doesn't, but also to participate with the community in itself, specifically some of the featured artists coming up after me, to understand their art process, be involved with their techniques. And if there is a way that I can even work with the community, with WPCA, with another organization, to make live art painting approachable to younger people or to any person really in general, I think for me it's just breaking that boundary, that barrier to entry, where live painting is painting if you want to or not, and that's okay too. And I want to continue breaking down that barrier for other people. So currently AI has been a very hot topic in society, regardless if it's used for artistic purposes, for data manipulation, for software, for technology in itself. But the way that I see AI in art specifically is, I would say it's an extension of what's already been done before. It's people being inspired by certain artists trying to replicate certain styles or techniques. Where does creativity end and copyright issues start? As art in itself, I think the way that I specifically leverage it is I'm trying to find inspiration, and especially colorful inspiration, from artists that are no longer with us or figures that have only been captured in black and white. I want to use it as a resource to, in itself, for myself to be more creative than I probably wouldn't have done by myself. I think this is great for artists as well, as they're experimenting with different colors, different techniques, or someone that may have perhaps a barrier of seeing the world as how others see it. It may actually validate how they think art in itself. So I think artificial intelligence in the world, and how I use it, should be more of a tool and a leverage to execute on what's already in our minds. And if there's anything that you could take from this conversation, is just fail on purpose with art. There's no way to learn and to succeed if you don't fail. Just go out and fail often.